Hello and welcome back to SK to the Point. Today we are diving into a topic that has serious implications for India's digital future: data management, data privacy, and overall AI governance. As someone who's been part of data strategy and data governance for well over a decade, this is a topic that's very, very close to my heart. As technology becomes an integral part of our daily lives and, of course, the national infrastructure, data governance isn't just about privacy anymore. It's about national security, economic growth, and, of course, public trust. While India has made some serious strides when it comes to the digital space, it is falling far behind countries like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and China, who are leading the way with robust data governance frameworks, AI innovations, and digital sovereignty. In this video, we will explore where India is falling short, the dangers it faces due to these lapses, and the lessons that we can learn from other countries. So, buckle up, this is a critical discussion. It's important that we first confront the stark reality of how India handles data, per se. And it's not a pretty picture. India's weak data privacy frameworks and lack of data residency laws have resulted in numerous breaches. These breaches have compromised sensitive data at a national scale. These issues have also exposed the country's vulnerabilities, not just in terms of privacy, but also in terms of national security. One of the most glaring examples of India's weak data governance is the Aadhaar data breach. Aadhaar is India's biometric identification system containing sensitive data of over 1.3 billion people, including names, addresses, phone numbers, and even biometric information like fingerprints and iris scans. This system was originally touted as a revolutionary tool for digital identity management, but in reality, it has been a target for hackers and cybercriminals. In 2018, journalists exposed that Aadhaar data could be accessed for as little as 500 rupees, that is around 7 USD. These kind of data breaches involved personal details of millions of people to anyone who wanted them. This breach was not a one off. Multiple Aadhaar related leaks have occurred since then, putting the personal information of millions of Indian citizens at risk. What's more concerning is the government's lack response to all these breaches, often downplaying the seriousness of them. In contrast, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have implemented stringent data residency and privacy laws to prevent such catastrophic breaches. For example, Saudi Arabia's National Data Management Office, the NDMO, under the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority (SDAIA), ensures that critical data is stored locally and protected with robust cybersecurity. Aadhaar's data, on the other hand, is often stored on servers hosted by third parties, including foreign cloud services, without clear oversight or accountability. Another serious issue in India is the unregulated use of facial recognition technology, especially by police departments across the country. Delhi and Hyderabad are two cities where facial recognition systems are widely used to monitor public events and crowded spaces. While these systems are often touted as tools for enhancing security, they come with significant privacy risks. While one may argue that every major country uses such technologies to catch criminals and repeat offenders, my only concern and problem here is about data privacy and leaks. It is important to understand that India doesn't yet have robust guidelines like GDPR or PDPA like many other countries. One major concern is that the biometric data collected through these systems is often insecure and has been leaked on several occasions. For example, sensitive information about people's movements, identities, and activities has been found on the dark web, available to anyone who are willing to pay for it. With no clear legal framework to regulate how this data is stored or shared, Indian citizens are left vulnerable to surveillance and profiling. If we contrast, in countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, biometric data is subject to strict governance laws. For example, the Dubai Digital Authority or the DDA ensures that any use of biometric data is regulated with clear laws on data storage, sharing, and privacy protections. In India, the lack of such safeguards leaves citizens exposed to the risk of abuse and exploitation. Let's not forget the Strava incident in 2018, where a simple fitness tracking app ended up exposing the location of global military bases of America. Strava's heat map feature unintentionally revealed the movement patterns of soldiers, making it easy to identify sensitive locations. If an innocent fitness app can leak such sensitive data, imagine what can happen with facial recognition data collected by Indian police departments or Uber ride data used by Indian Armed Forces personnel. Yes, this is where I want to highlight the Uber partnership with the Indian Armed Forces, which raises significant data security concerns. Uber has a history of data breaches, and the GPS data, the ride details, and personal information of military personnel using the service could be exposed if their systems are compromised. India has yet to implement the kind of stringent data residency laws seen in the Middle East, where sensitive data remains within national borders. We will, of course, see the Uber issue in a detailed manner in the upcoming sections of the video. One of the fundamental reasons behind India's data mismanagement crisis is its lack of data residency laws. Unlike countries in the Middle East, or even China for that matter, which mandate that critical data must remain within the country, India's approach is much more relaxed. This makes Indian data vulnerable to foreign surveillance and cyber attacks. For instance, in the UAE, the National Data Residency Program mandates that all sensitive data generated by the government entities and critical industries must be stored within the country. The Dubai Digital Authority plays a pivotal role in ensuring compliance with these laws, establishing local data centers that provide secure storage solutions. Saudi Arabia has gone a step further. The SADAIA, the SDAIA, enforces data residency laws that apply not only to government data but also to private sector data. This is particularly in sectors critical to national security like finance and healthcare. Through partnerships with global tech firms like IBM, Saudi Arabia is building a data infrastructure that combines cutting edge technology with local data control. India, however, has yet to enforce such strict data residency laws. As a result, much of the country's sensitive data is stored on foreign servers, often in countries with less stringent privacy regulations. This basically exposes Indian citizens and businesses to foreign surveillance under laws like the US Cloud Act, which allows the US government to access data stored on US owned cloud servers, regardless of where the data is physically located. I think it is important to understand that this lack of data sovereignty is a critical vulnerability for India, especially as the country moves towards greater digital integration in sectors like banking, healthcare, and e governance. While Middle East and China are implementing comprehensive public awareness campaigns about data privacy and security, India faces a significant challenge in the form of data illiteracy among its citizens. Most Indians are unaware of how their data is being used, collected, or potentially exploited. In the UAE, the Digital Dubai Authority has partnered with private firms to run public workshops on data security and privacy best practices. These initiatives ensure that citizens understand the importance of protecting their personal information and are educated about data privacy rights. The result is a more data literate population that is better equipped to navigate the digital world securely. In India, however, data literacy is virtually non existent. Many citizens still use weak passwords, for instance, share sensitive information online without understanding the risks, and are unaware of their rights to data privacy. This widespread data illiteracy makes it easier for hackers, scammers, cyber criminals, and even malicious governments to exploit Indian data. The lack of public education campaigns on data privacy further compounds the issue. Citizens are often left to fend for themselves with little guidance from the government on how to secure their personal data. Thus, gap in understanding allows for frequent identity theft, fraud, and social profiling, eroding public trust in digital services. Let's now shift focus to China, which has made data sovereignty a national priority. After facing sanctions and trade restrictions from the United States, China took aggressive steps to ensure it was not reliant on foreign technology or data infrastructure. For instance, look at China's response to US sanctions on Huawei. It now has created Harmony OS, which is a homegrown operating system designed to reduce dependence on foreign tech giants like Google, which has Android, and Apple. Now, Harmony OS is used by major Chinese companies like Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo, offering China a level of data control that few other countries can match. In contrast, India continues to rely on foreign operating systems like Android and iOS, and foreign cloud servers like AWS, GCP, and Azure. This lack of digital sovereignty means India has limited control over its data infrastructure, leaving it open to potential data breaches, surveillance, and even political leverage from foreign nations. If India were to develop its own indigenous operating systems and cloud services, it could secure its data ecosystem in the same way that China has done with Harmony OS. It is very much important that India takes a page from China's playbook by developing indigenous operating systems and industry specific AI frameworks. These should not only serve the domestic market but also position India as a leader in AI and digital infrastructure on the global stage. Yet another reason for me to make a comparison here, because Saudi Arabia, for instance, has developed something called as a meta brain, which is a large language model or an LLM specifically designed for industrial AI applications, which can support up to 250 billion parameters. By 2025, Saudi Arabia aims to increase this model to 1 trillion parameters to further revolutionize its business operations. Similarly, the UAE's G42, in collaboration with MBZU AI and Cerebra Systems, has developed JACE, the world's most advanced Arabic language LLM. These initiatives aren't just about technology. You really need to think what they are actually about. They are about creating national strategic advantages in data driven sectors. India, with its immense talent pool, is in a prime position to deploy industry specific AI models if the right policies and investments are made. As I promised, now let's talk about the Uber partnership with the Indian Armed Forces, which has raised serious data security concerns. As I'm making this video, I also realized that the Indian Navy has already signed a contract earlier in 2023. On the surface, this partnership seems beneficial, offering military personnel perks like zero cancellation fees, surge pricing protection, and premium rights. However, the real threat lies in how Uber handles its user data. It's important to understand that Uber has a troubling history of data breaches, with the most notable incident occurring in 2016 when hackers accessed the personal information of 57 million Uber users, including drivers and passengers. If Uber's systems are not adequately secured, the personal data of Indian Armed Forces personnel, including their GPS locations, ride details, and personal information, could be compromised. This data could be easily exploited for malicious purposes, including tracking military movements or profiling personnel. This brings us back to the Strava incident where the fitness app basically leaked sensitive details about US Army's secret military bases. Soldiers using the app unknowingly exposed their geolocations, creating a massive security risk. The Uber partnership with the Indian military personnel carries a similar risk, especially since Uber tracks GPS data for all of its rides. Without stringent data residency laws and secure local storage, this data could be vulnerable to cyber attacks or surveillance by foreign actors. Countries in the Middle East have very strong data residency laws that would prevent such sensitive information from being stored on foreign servers, thereby reducing the risk of exposure, basically. Yet another time, owing to the lack of robust and stringent data sovereignty laws in India, this could be a national security risk. While India struggles with data leaks, weak privacy laws, and cybersecurity risks, countries in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, are building secure digital ecosystems that promote both innovation and national security. The Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, or the SADAIA, has been a key player in transforming Saudi Arabia into a data driven economy. SADAIA enforces a comprehensive data governance framework that includes data privacy, cybersecurity, and ethical AI regulations. This framework is not just a set of guidelines, it's backed by enforcement mechanisms that ensure compliance across both the public and the private sectors. For example, SADAIA has partnered with IBM to establish an AI Center of Excellence that aligns with Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia's ambitious plan to become a global leader in data and AI. This model specifically focuses on data localization, ensuring that critical national data is stored securely within the country, reducing the risk of foreign exploitation. In the UAE, the Dubai Digital Authority, or the DDA, has been instrumental in turning Dubai into a global leader in digital governance. The DDA oversees various data driven initiatives, including Smart Dubai, which integrates digital services across government entities and ensures data privacy through platforms like Dubai Now. India can certainly learn a lot from these models by enforcing similar data residency laws and building a national data governance framework. India could drastically improve data security and public trust while promoting digital innovation. If India continues on its current path of data mismanagement, the costs will be severe. The national security of India could be compromised as foreign entities gain access to critical data, while economic growth will be stifled by frequent data breaches and low public trust in digital systems. India must establish national data centers to store sensitive government and private sector data. By implementing strong data sovereignty laws, India can ensure that critical data stays within its borders, free from risk of foreign surveillance or cyber attacks. This is very important for a country like India, which has basically pioneered the digital payments network in its UPI and other initiatives. Now, let's take a step back and let me try and explain everything we've discussed so far in simpler terms so that everyone, no matter how familiar they are with technology, can understand why this is such an important issue. Example 1: your house and your data. Think of your personal data like your name, address, phone number, bank details, etc., as valuables inside your house. Now, imagine if your house didn't have locks on the doors or windows, anyone could come in and take your valuables without you even knowing. This is exactly what happens when data leaks occur. Your personal information like Aadhaar or your bank account can be stolen because it wasn't properly secured. In countries like Saudi Arabia or the UAE, it's like having strong locks on every door and windows in the house. They have strict rules to make sure that your data stays safe and inside your house. In India, our doors are left unlocked because we don't have strict laws to keep our data inside the country or secure from people who shouldn't have access to it. Example 2: why you should care about where your data is stored. Let's take the example of a ride sharing app. Let's say you are availing a taxi in your mobile app. You probably don't think twice about it. The taxi app already knows where you are going to get picked up and where you want to go, the source and the destination. But imagine if this information was shared with people you didn't know, or worse, with criminals. If someone knows exactly where you go every day, it's like letting them follow you without you even noticing it. Now, if you are a regular person, this could be a breach of privacy. But imagine if you were a military officer or someone in the government. This kind of data could be used to track your movements or even plan an attack. In India, we do not have strong rules to make sure that these important data elements are stored within our borders. Example 3, the fitness app that revealed military bases. Let's come back to the example of the fitness app. Imagine you use an app that tracks your morning runs. That's fine, right? But now imagine if everyone could see where you are running, even if you don't want them to know. This is why data privacy is so important. It's not just about protecting your social media posts, it's also about ensuring that your location, habits, and movements are kept private and secure. Example 4, using your bank account details as an example of data leaks. Let's say you have given your bank account details to a shopkeeper. You trust that they won't be misusing it, but what if they wrote it down and left it out in the open for anyone else to see? That's similar to what happens when data leaks occur in India. When your Aadhaar or bank account details get leaked, it's like basically leaving your wallet on a table in a crowded market. Anyone can take your money or personal information and misuse it. Example 5. What happens when we don't know how to protect our data? Imagine you give your house keys to someone you trust, but you don't realize that they might lose them or give them to someone else by accident. This is what happens when people don't know how to properly protect their online data. In India, many people don't understand that weak passwords, sharing personal information on unsafe websites, or clicking on suspicious links can make it easier for someone to steal your data. The next example, why having our own technology matters. Let's take China as example. Let's talk about something that seems technical but is actually very simple. When you use your phone, the software like Android or iOS is basically made by foreign companies. This means that these companies have some control over how your data is stored and used. Now imagine if your phone had software made in India by Indian companies with Indian laws protecting it. This is basically what China has done right now with their Harmony OS. They build their own system so that they can actually keep control of their data. If India builds its own technology, it would be basically like having your home built with local materials and local builders who exactly know what it takes for you to be safe. Right now, we are relying on foreign builders who don't always follow the same rules when it comes to privacy and safety. So, what does this all mean for you and me? It means that data privacy and security aren't just buzzwords for tech companies. They're about protecting your personal information the same way you would protect your home or bank details. India has a long way to go to make sure that our data stays safe, but it's possible if we take steps now, like the Middle East and the China have done. We need stronger laws, better security, and more awareness among people like you and me to make sure our data stays where it belongs, in our own hands. In conclusion, India is at a critical crossroads. The country must take urgent steps to reform its data governance policies, strengthen its data privacy laws, and invest in indigenous digital infrastructure to secure its digital future. I basically picked out examples from the Middle East and China specifically to ensure that we are always not looking at the Western powers, because the comparison could also go wrong when someone points out that the Western powers have much better funding and much better planning, and of course have a longer legacy than many of our Asian counterparts. That's the reason I picked out Middle East countries who've achieved so much in such a short span of time. So, what are some of the things that India can do to get better in this game? Number one, pass and enforce a robust personal data protection bill. India must immediately pass the long pending Personal Data Protection Bill and enforce it rigorously. Clear penalties for data breaches must be set, and strict compliance should be ensured, especially for government institutions handling sensitive data. 2. Build national data centers and enforce data residency laws to ensure that sensitive data remains within India's borders, just like the Middle East or China. India needs to enforce data residency laws, ensuring that critical data stays within the country. National data centers should be built to handle government and private sector data securely, reducing our dependence on foreign cloud service providers. Step 3. Promote public awareness campaigns to improve data literacy and cybersecurity practices among citizens. India must definitely initiate public campaigns to raise awareness about a zillion scams that are taking place right now. Citizens should be educated on how to protect their personal information, and the government should also promote data literacy as a key part of its digital infrastructure agenda. Step 4, develop indigenous operating systems, cloud services, and industry specific AI frameworks. India has to invest and develop its own operating systems and cloud services, much like China's Harmony OS. This would definitely reduce the dependency on foreign tech giants and ensure data sovereignty. Additionally, it is also very important that India needs to focus on building its own industry specific AI frameworks and LLMs, similar to what Saudi Arabia and the UAE are doing with MetaBrain and Chase. I really want to stress on this fact because we have successful people like Mohan and Nabil Al-Kini, who still see India as a service-based country, and they often in public domains discourage our firms and our startups from investing time and efforts to build our own LLMs. And they often say that we must focus more on services and use case-based solutions. I think India as a country has come past that time in history. India needs to build more of its own solutions now. It's the time to invest and build our own IPs. I just want to end this with a very simple example. Had ISRO thought in the same manner, it would have basically just leveraged NASA or even SpaceX now and outsourced its launches. But ISRO actually achieved things like Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. It makes a huge difference. If tiny countries can do it, so can India. It just needs the right direction and approach. Point 5, create a national data governance body to oversee data privacy, AI ethics, and data security across all sectors. A centralized authority similar to SADAYA in Saudi Arabia or DDA in the UAE should be established in India to oversee data governance across all sectors. This body should have the power to enforce data privacy laws, manage data residency, and ensure ethical AI deployment across both public and private sectors. Step 6, establish regulatory sandboxes that encourage innovation while ensuring data protection. I think this is a very important thing, especially for startups. India should look at what its counterparts in Middle East are doing. It's basically about creating a regulatory sandbox which allows companies to innovate while staying within the bounds of strict regulations. Creating such regulatory sandboxes would enable Indian fintech, healthcare, and other AI startups to develop cutting edge solutions without compromising on data security. Without these changes, India risks falling further behind in the global race for data dominance. The time to act is now. India's digital future really depends on it. I thank you all for watching. If you found this video insightful, do share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversations going about how India can secure its place as a global leader in data governance and AI innovation. Until next time, I'll see you on soon. Cheers.